conflict is here. You've had it before.
Mm-hmm.
You have it right now. You'll have it in the future.
Mm-hmm.
If you say, we're going to have a good environment here, what does that really mean? It can't just be platitudes on the wall.
Do you think that workplace conflict is more common now, or do you think it's that we're just more aware of it? Where is he?
Got this podcast again. Let's do it.
You know, I've got something for you.
What is that?
Be late to meetings. Advice on how to be unprofessional.
Well, here I am. Let's get into it. How to be unprofessional at work.
Well, you're succeeding.
That's what the book's about, right?
I know. So our guest, Mary Brown.
Yes, she wrote this book, How to Be Unprofessional at Work, and she's writing a new book we'll find out more about, but how we can really solve conflict in the workplace and manage it well.
Yes, I love this topic, and we could talk about it all day, but I'd rather her tell us about it.
And I won't be late again.
She's the professional. Our guest today is Mary Brown, a workplace mediator, trainer, and host of the Conflict Manage podcast. Welcome to Pocket Change, Mary.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here with you today.
Yes. So tell us about yourself and what led you into mediation and workplace conflict resolution.
Well, I've been living in Martin, Tennessee since 2002. We came for the University of Tennessee at Martin. And I taught philosophy there for 17 years and 5 years in St. Louis. And right around mid-pandemic, I had been feeling like I wanted to do something else. While I love teaching and I love philosophy, I just knew I wanted something else for the second half of my career. And in 2018, I had become a listed mediator, a World 31 mediator. And so I just really saw with the pandemic that the world is flat. And so I wasn't going to be leaving Martin. And so I thought, well, I will quit my job and start mediation. And a few months after that, I started my own business, third-party workplace conflict restoration services.
Wow. That's awesome.
And you got a podcast to go along with that, too, and we'll talk more about that. But started a few new things all at that same time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so what are the biggest misconceptions about conflict?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is when we hear conflict, we hear negative. Conflict is bad.
Right.
But that's unmanaged conflict. Conflict, if it's managed, is actually really good. We need conflict to have engagement and creativity and collaboration. I mean, if we all thought the same thing, what's the outcome going to be?
Right.
And so to really take advantage of all of the knowledge and experience that people on our teams or in our families have, we need to be able to manage conflict well. So I think that's the biggest misconception, that conflict is to be avoided, that it's bad, something has gone wrong, but rather conflict is normal and expected. We're going to have it, we know it, so we need to develop those skills in order to have it be fruitful conflict.
That's right. So do you think that workplace conflict is more common now, or do you think it's that we're just more aware of it?
It's a really good question. I'm not entirely sure. I think in some ways, it's more overtly common because we're more used to speaking up a little bit. We have maybe different standards of the rights of workers in the work environment. And with change in leadership dynamics from a control and command, where you've got the leader and everybody else is the minion and you just do what you're told, when there's more of an emphasis on really wanting the creativity and the expertise and a healthy work environment, then people are going to be more likely to speak up when things aren't working for them. So I think it's probably always been, and some things are less now when we think about the harassment that used to take place in just work environments, the Industrial Revolution. So things are better, but then there are higher expectations of standards of treatment of people.
Yes, I can see that. Yeah. And I also think that the awareness with social media being put out there helps too, because beforehand, without social media, sometimes you just did not know that what you were experiencing was not okay. So I agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what would be your top tips for employers who want to mediate conflict in their workplaces?
My top tip is make it a strategic priority. Conflict is here. You've had it before. You have it right now. You'll have it in the future. And if you manage it well, you are positioning your business to flourish now and into the future. And if you decide to not make it a strategic priority, you're still going to have it, but it will be mismanaged. And you will lose money. You will lose people. You'll lose in the marketplace, innovation. There's so many ways in which you lose out, and it costs so much if you don't deal with it. So know that you're going to have it. And the wonderful thing is that, a lot of people think they're conflict averse, they're bad at it. Well, that's okay. You can get better at it. It's one of those things. It's not like I'm born with this disposition or I'm not.
Yeah.
You can actually develop it. So have a plan, empower your people from the part-time seasonal worker all the way up to deal with their own conflict, but then have mechanisms all the way along the line so that their people's real issues can be addressed early, often, swiftly, and justly.
That's
great.
powerful. So what advice would you give to managers to help their employers improve?
For a manager, I would say work on yourself. Managers really need to be reflective. So if there's something going wrong, stop and pause and see, what am I doing? How am I speaking into the people that report to me? What kind of conditions am I setting? Because conflict, a lot of times we think it's external, it's about the issue, somebody is late, but it's very rarely about the issue. It's about me and my relationship to that person and my relationship at this time, how I'm showing up, they're showing up, the system in the organization. So a good leader is going to be reflective, good manager is going to be reflective, not reactive, and set the tone so that they will manage conflict.
It's kind of like parenting, right? We kind of set the tone in our homes.
Yeah.
If we come in and we're in a bad mood, it's going to trickle down to our children, and they start being fussy. But if we set the tone of the standard of what we expect in our home, and that we're going to treat each other well, then they usually do the same. So
Absolutely, I love that
pretty
you
simple.
said that. Yeah, tone and setting expectations. And so my expectation is that we're going to treat everybody well. We're colleagues here. We're going to collaborate. We will have mistakes. We will have people have bad days, and we'll deal with it, and we will all be respectful, so basic civility. If that's my expectation, and that's how I show up, then people will usually rise or fall to the expectations around them. So if you set high expectations, then you're going to more likely have a healthy work environment.
So sometimes there may be a situation where, an employee's feeling ignored by their supervisor in the workplace. What advice would you give that person?
It's kind of similar. You want to stop and figure out, okay, I feel ignored. What do I mean by that? In what way am I ignored? If I've been passed over for promotions, am I not being listened to in meetings? If I'm not being included, what do I mean by ignored? And getting really clear about that. And then figuring out, well, if my boss is not responding to my communication, write it out. How have I been communicating? Then try a different way, and then try another way. And de-escalate yourself in your emotions. Emotions are really good information, but we don't need to act in our emotions. And say, okay, this is a puzzle to be solved. How can I communicate in a fruitful way with my boss? How does he or she want to be communicated with? So maybe my favorite way is face-to-face, but I'm met with resistance. Try something else. Figure out what it is, because you and your boss ultimately have the same goal, which is the success of the organization, because if the organization fails, you're out of jobs.
That's right. That's great. So what is your advice for building strong culture in a tough environment?
I think you have to have a vision. Right? If you say, we're going to have a good environment here, we're all going to be respectful, we're all going to, well, what does that really mean? It can't just be platitudes on the wall. In the everyday, how can we expect people to show up? In the everyday, how do we deal with mistakes? Are we going to be punitive and look at the past and blame and shame? Or are we going to take moments and think, okay, well, what do we need to do to make this right? And what can we do in the future so that these sorts of things don't happen? What do the people in your organization right now want? Not what do I want? So if I love swag, and so I give my people swag, but they don't like swag, it's like almost worse than a gift. It's a non-gift. It's tone deaf, that
non-gift. I like that
pizza party sort of thing.
Yes.
So ask people; they will tell you. And the more you ask them, like, what can I do for you? What do you need to be successful? Then they're used to you being there, and you're setting this tone where we are all in it together. We're all trying to have a good environment.
That's great.
Yeah, I'll take the pizza party, though. Works for me. So you have your own podcast, we mentioned. So tell us about that and how you got started podcasting.
Yeah, it's called Conflict Managed, and it comes out every Tuesday. And I interview people locally, and so in West Tennessee, and then nationally and internationally.
Wow.
All different kinds of people at the beginning of their career. I've interviewed 2 of my own kids, people at the end of their career, all different fields. I'm very interested in people's experience, what has gone well and why, what has gone wrong, and then people reminiscing about what they would do differently, if anything, now. So this whole idea of growth and development. And my hope with the podcast is that people find themselves in really, really awful situations at work. There's a lot of pain and harm of things that are not necessarily illegal behavior, but really difficult behavior. So it's very disempowering. And so I want people to listen to the podcast and be empowered and imagine for themselves, what can I do? And there is something that you can do. And so I got started in May of 2022. A recent episode was with Jessica Childress. She's an employment lawyer in Washington, D.C. I just interview all different kinds of people and to hear about their advice and learning from them so we can all learn together. And my whole goal with talking about conflict is healthy work environments.
And a lot of times it just stems from having a conversation, right? We learn so much from each other if we just listen.
Yes, 100%.
So where can we find your podcast?
You can find the podcast wherever you listen to any podcast. You can go to my website, which is 3pconflictrestoration.com. And there's a tab there and you can find it. But it's on Apple, Spotify. It's also on YouTube if you want to watch it.
So subscribe. Oh, sorry. Yes. I was going to say subscribe to Pocket Change and
Conflict Managed.
That's what I was going to say. Okay, so what projects are you currently working on?
Well, right now I'm working on a new book, the editing process. It should be coming out hopefully, well, it will be out in January of 2026. It's called Winning the Generation Wars at Work, Making Your Age an Asset.
Wow.
So I do a lot of training and on healthy work environments and how to have difficult conversations. And I hear from all different kinds of people, how do I work with them? Meaning the younger generation, the older generation, the generation in the middle. They're so different. What am I supposed to do? And this book really came from hearing it again and again. And I hope that you enjoy it. Yes. I have a simple solution. It's a very everyday solution. You have to read it to find out what it is.
I can't wait.
But the difficulty is in doing it. So,
would you mind kind of giving us some highlights of your other book?
Sure.
How to be unprofessional at work, right? I was like, what was the name of it?
That's right. How to be unprofessional at work.
I loved that.
Tips to ensure failure. It's 80 tips of what not to do and considers what to do instead to have a healthy work environment. And so that book came about because I am not a guru of all things professional, but I do know what something isn't. And that's part of my philosophy background. It's called knowledge via the negative way. If you don't know what something is, it's like you're doing philosophy of religion, maybe you're not exactly sure what God is, but we can say what God isn't. Or if you're not exactly sure what the good life is, you can say, well, it's not that. And so I thought that would be an interesting way to spark people's imaginations and conversations by saying, well, we know this is what you should not be. You should not be late. You should not be lazy. You should not gossip. Okay, so don't do those things. What are we going to do instead? And why? And really thinking about your reputation, being professional no matter what job or career you happen to be in.
That's great advice.
Yes, I have the book, and I live by all 80 principles, so I'm never wrong on any of them. No.
It might be sitting right there.
Exactly. But you talked about some of the generational shifts. So what have you seen, some of the expectations in the workplace between generations?
I think you said it right there, expectations.
Yeah.
But one thing that I have noticed that I wonder, we call it these generation gap, but I think it's just more of an expectation gap of I see maybe younger people showing up and I don't understand why they're behaving in a certain way. But then I don't stop and say, yeah, but how were they onboarded? Like, what was going on in the culture? Oh, they don't know how to do this? Okay, but what is my responsibility? Oh, they don't know. And vice versa, if I'm a younger person coming in and I think, well, why are they doing this and why are they doing that? And oh, they're so out of touch. They don't know this new app or this language. And stopping and taking pause and saying, but why does that matter? You know, whose job is to do what. And so a lot of it is just a failure to communicate because we think things should be different. And a lot of my work is helping people say, this is the reality as given. Generations are here. And if you don't have a multi-generational office, you are at a disadvantage. Because, well, I'm fabulous and so are you. If you have everybody just thinks the way that you do and comes from your own background, then you're only serving that part of the population. But most of us in our businesses serve all of the community. And so we need to, for the health of our organization, learn how to work well with people of different generations and not tolerate them, but embrace it because they've got great bits of knowledge. But then also setting civility standards. How will we treat everybody here and get everybody at the table to have those conversations so that it isn't just top down, because everybody deserves to have a healthy work environment where they're treated with baseline dignity and respect.
That's so great. I could talk about this all day,
Me too,
but
yes.
We are a financial podcast, so I would love to know what's the best financial advice you've been given.
Well, I don't know if I have been given this advice, but it's something that I have come to see is true. Don't hide. Don't hide your purchases or the way in which you think about money from your significant other, your spouse, and don't hide it from yourself. Because I think when we hide, whether it's conflict or something else, it's to soothe because we don't want to see it, or we don't want to be told no, or we don't want the pain of the moment. But as everybody knows, it's much more painful when we put it off. So when we don't look at our spending habits, we are going to pay one way or the other. It might be in retirement. It might be when kids come along. But the more you're able to talk with yourself and de-escalate yourself, and then with your partner, so that there's a good chance you're going to have different spending habits, or heaven forbid you have the same spending habits if you're a spendthrift. But figuring those things out and partnering, because as you well know, money can be very difficult because of people's family of origin, because. So don't hide.
That's such great advice, and you are the first to have ever said anything like that here, so I really appreciate that take on it.
All right, that was great advice. But if you had some extra pocket change, just some change in your pocket, what would you spend that on?
Well, this is what I have done when you change a purse and you find, I got $10 in here or $5 in here. There's something about that extra money that is like this dopamine rush. I've got this extra money. And I look at it and I say, well, I'm so glad it's there for the next time that I need it. And I am not a great saver, but maybe that's why I get this little rush when I find it. And I know it's like in these little pockets here or there. And then the soybean comes to town in Martin in September, and I think, I know where that cash is, and I give kids something to go get a waffle, what are those things? A treat.
I don't know.
Funnel cake?
Funnel cake,
yes. That's it.
To go get a funnel
right.
cake or just those little treats that whenever you need them. I just love knowing that I can go get that money and do something.
It's
with
like
it.
saving it for a rainy day, except for not for an emergency kind of way, but like in a good, positive treat way.
Yes.
That's fun too. Okay, well, thank you so much, Mary, for joining us today. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and we are excited to see your new book come out, and thank you for all that you're doing in our community.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks for tuning in to the Pocket Change Podcast.
Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe, and check out our full episodes on YouTube,
The Pocket Change Podcast is brought to you by Leaders Credit Union.
where we power your passion and make lives better. Cha-ching!
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I forgot the other question to ask. You can cut all that out. Okay, so we can just start with that. I don't even know what you said anymore.
Leaders is federally insured by the NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Learn more at leaderscu.com.